I just got back from filming my largest project yet, my own comedy special. And this is the largest for many reasons. It's the largest crew, most amount of cameras used, most amount of audio equipment, and then also not even to touch base on how long it took me to write and perfect the hour itself of material. Because leading up to this, I knew that I really wanted it to be at a larger scale than what I've done in the past. And I really have learned from my past projects leading up to this. And so this is game day. This was the Super Bowl. And I knew that going into it. I knew that I wanted that to be the case. Because honestly, this all kind of started around the time in early 2020, I guess, when I started putting together the Big Laugh TV show. I knew that if I could figure out this style and figure out what it takes to put into a special and a TV show and filming live stand-up comedy, all that together, just figuring that out and selling it to large streaming services, that one day I would hopefully film my own special and sell it to large streaming services. And so I have been just learning over the years with the Big Laugh and Zen Comedy and a few other projects that I have coming out, that I just learned what it took, and I got advice from streaming services and distribution and other filmmakers to just kind of always get better at the live recording process, and then also the editing process and the distribution process. So all that leads up to the Super Bowl, my special, or often my girlfriend and I were referring to it as my wedding, because it's something that you're working so hard on and putting so much time into and so much planning, and it's your big day. It did feel like a wedding, or at least that's what I'm told weddings feel like. So I just kind of want to walk you through leading up to the special and the day of the special, how I felt before, how I feel after, and also I always like to kind of review and really think about each one of these, right? Like when I filmed the Big Laugh TV show, I had notes, I still have notes in my phone of what I would do differently. When I filmed Zen Comedy, that's on Amazon Prime, I made notes what I would do differently. We filmed a project in Loveland that's about to come out. I have notes of what I would do differently. Just every single time, just tweaking and really thinking through something like this. And so this hour of material, I just spent so much time on the road perfecting. So I'm not really going to talk about hours behind that or what that really looks like, because that's like its own thing for sure. It's just, some of the jokes are older that I wanted to make sure that we're in it, and then some of the jokes are newer. But no matter what, the last like year to 2 years ish, I've been touring this hour in some sort of fashion. And then in the last 6-7 months, I've been heavily touring this hour, just perfecting, listening back to sets, tweaking jokes, polishing things, removing stuff that's not working, adding things, just constantly making changes. I made changes to the jokes literally like maybe a week before even. I was still tweaking it, just perfecting it as much as I can. So I would say this is a hour that I've never toured an hour that much. I've never perfected an hour that much. So I really could do it with my eyes closed, and I could really hit every mark and know where everything and the pauses and the timing and just I knew it all so well. I was actually very sick of it towards the end there, of just sick of doing it, but I knew that I just need to keep working on it, keep polishing it, and then that will lead to the best hour I could possibly film. And so preparing to film something like that, you got to pick a venue, a city, a team. There's a lot behind the scenes, months and months in advance that you need to figure out, because I'm backing it, right? Because I'm the production company. I'm the one kind of making these decisions. Sometimes I'm sure when you work with like a Comedy Central or a Netflix or something, they might have say of like where you're going to film it, what time of the year you're going to film it, all that stuff. It could be in the contract, but this is a project that I have always wanted to do, leading up to with the Big Laugh and Zen and stuff, just knowing that it was all leading up to this. So I already knew the crew that I was going to have. I knew that I was going to hire Josh from Heavy Feathers. That was always going to be the case because he filmed the Big Laugh, Zen, the Loveland thing, and so many other stuff. Like not only for me, this is we've done 4 projects together now, but like he's done many other people's specials of different calibers, small and large, and he's been a part of that. So I love working with Josh, and he gets my vision. He knows what I like. We work well together, and what I like about Josh, there's no ego involved. He's just like very technical, does his stuff, likes to set up early, likes to run through things. He's got a system, and he's just like, you like this? Don't like this? Cool, we'll change that, And dude, the best dude to work with. I love working with. He would definitely be a part of all my future specials that I can think of, because he's just incredible. So I knew it was going to be Josh. I didn't know the venue. I looked around at venues. I thought about different venues. I didn't know, but I did know that I wanted it filmed in Arizona because that's where my family is. That's where a lot of my friends are. And I wanted to make sure that my friends and family could come to this big special. But Arizona doesn't have a lot of venues available for comedy. Sure, you have the comedy clubs, but I knew I didn't want it in a comedy club. I wanted it more in like a theater is really the goal. The goal was to have it in a theater. And it just so happened that my friends who opened a small theater years ago called The Bridge Improv Theater, I was one of the first people to kind of go there in general when they first opened up. My girlfriend and I have always supported them, and we love David and Jess, and always spent time when we lived in Arizona at The Bridge. And it just kind of happened to where they're opening up their larger theater now. They've been building it for a while, and then they were going to be opening it up. And so that it just kind of worked out perfectly, where they were having literally their grand opening that weekend of me filming. So I was kind of kicking off the grand opening weekend. So that, it was just, it just was the perfect choice. I'm very happy that I chose The Bridge. It was a beautiful location. So The Bridge is beautiful. The team coming together, the hour, perfecting it. And so that's all leading up to me needing to do a couple more runs weeks before. I'm doing it every single weekend, just perfecting it. And then I had to fly to Arizona, and I tried to fly to Arizona a couple days early, make sure I'm well rested, because that's the other side of this, right? It's making sure you're well rested, making sure you're eating healthy, making sure you're making all the right choices, because you are the product. And there's a lot of weight on you with that. Like, at least in my mind, it felt that way. There's a lot of weight on you of like, if I got sick or I lost my voice, like, that's a lot of money and time and effort just gone out the window. Or, if I mess up something, or, I also was just like worried about like falling in the shower, where I'm like, if I got seriously injured again, we'll have to figure all this out again and reschedule everything. And that sounds like a nightmare. So being well rested, being thoughtful about what I'm doing. One of the things is my girlfriend got us a hotel the night before. So we checked into a hotel, super dope, nice hotel. It was literally next door to the Bridge Improv Theater. So I could go between the theater and the hotel very easily, which was nice because the day before I wanted to relax. I wanted to spend as much time in a hot tub, but just chill out in a hotel room, not really think about anything else, just really focus on comedy and the fact that I'm about to film an hour. And then also the day before, Josh and I met up at the Bridge Improv Theater, and we ran through some technical stuff of just like camera angles, how we're going to set things up, what's the equipment, how's the lighting, just things like that. Just ran through a bunch of stuff like that the day before. And that really did calm my nerves, just seeing the theater, getting on the stage for a little bit, kind of picturing myself walking on stage, doing the sound check, playing around, and then talking to Josh about like my vision of like what I'm trying to approach with this hour and what's different from what we filmed in the past or what I've learned. And so we just talked about that, and it was great. And he had some wonderful ideas. He really helped tweak the lighting, and it made it just a 10% better. Every little tweak just makes it 10% better. And I felt walking away from there like, this is great. This is definitely heading in the right direction. So it's a little more relaxed. I think I went back to the hotel and probably spent the rest of the time in a hot tub just trying to, because I was also just insanely tense. And there's like pictures of me at the day before, and I am just like, you can just tell that I'm just stressed in my face. I'm just so incredibly tense knowing that this is all, it's game day, baby. So that was the day before. So the day of, again, I was worried about falling in the shower. The other weird thing that I was thinking about was, for some reason, for the 48 hours before and during and so I kept having this thought of like, hey, what if you don't know how to do stand-up? What if you forgot how to do stand-up? And so the day of, I took a moment and I listened to some sets like that I have saved in my phone of like good sets of the hour, you know, that I like the riffs or, you know, it's a good crowd, yeah, any of that stuff, right? So I listened to a few of those, and it was funny to be like, yeah, you know this material. Like, why would you not forget how to do stand-up? But I kept worrying that I'm like, oh man, those cameras are going to turn on and I'm going to forget how to do comedy at all. That was such a weird experience. And then I had the main outfit picked out. My girlfriend bought me some nice shoes to go with the special. And then I had the pants picked out. And then I picked out a nice sweater. I wanted to go with a sweater look. I didn't want to do like a hoodie. I didn't want to do a button up. It's kind of, it seems so silly how long I put into planning the outfit, but for weeks and months, probably, I just kept going back and forth. But I knew I just wanted a nice look, because the streaming services I'm trying to sell this to have certain looks. And I'll talk more about that when the special's actually out, and some of the things I did behind the scenes to kind of help guide that decision, to kind of really push. So that way, when we're pitching it to streaming services, it was very easy for them to be like, yeah, we can see that as something that's like normally we would have, you know. So those streaming services could be like, we can see that as a good fit here. So I had the main outfit, and then I had a backup outfit, nervous about that. And then I had them, I had them in the shower hanging up and just steaming them with the shower running. And I just had them wrinkled free for 24 hours. Just like, I need them in a safe spot, wrinkle free. And then I was like, don't forget the outfits, you know, before you leave the hotel. So I'll be honest with you, the day of filming is kind of a blur to me, really. I was just so stressed and so in the zone, and so just a lot of moving parts. So I don't really remember a lot of the day. I do remember eating some salad from Salad & Go, getting a coffee. I remember getting to the venue early, walking through stuff with Josh. Josh kind of also just taking, you know, control of the situation and just setting up and getting all the cameras ready. We end up using 5 different cameras. I think 4 different audio recordings plus camera audio. And then the lighting. So a lot of footage and a lot of sound to work with. Different angles, close-ups, moving cameras, and then we had a follow camera that's going to be really cool. So just kind of taking it to the next level from like the Big Laugh or Zen or the Loveland special that we're releasing. So just kind of taking it to the next level. I really felt like this is the next step. All filmed in 4K, I believe 24 frames per second. And I'm excited to kind of start working with that footage. And I'm personally going to edit it because I know how the jokes go. I have the whole hour memorized. I know when to cut to this, when to cut to that. So it's going to be very easy for me to cut in between and kind of put it together myself. And then the actual time of filming, you're on stage, and I try not to get two things that I try to think about is like, I try not to get too stiff and worry about cameras and things. I'm just like, just perform the hour and the cameras will pick it up. That's like one thing. Make sure that I'm moving, make sure that, I'm just trying to like be loose and fun. And that was really important to me to focus on with this hour. Cause I know in the past, like you can look at sets that are recorded and I feel very stiff versus like seeing me live. And so I just was like, be fun, be loose. Cameras will get it. Make sure you just use the stage, have a good time. But honestly, I don't really remember performing the hour. It all is just kind of a blur. It's a thing that happened. I remember getting on stage. I remember a joke or two. And then I just remember coming off the stage and then just being like, what just happened? And then a lot of friends and family there, and they're just like excited and being very kind and being like, wow, that was so good. It was great to see that. And, even the jokes that I knew, you've tweaked them. And that was, that was great. It was really refreshing. And I'm sure I cried before, during, and after, like I definitely was emotional about the whole thing. And how I'm feeling about it afterwards is great. I feel really good about it. I looked at the footage. The footage looks so good, and it's raw footage. I haven't even color graded it or messed with the audio or anything. I've just watched the clips raw, and I am very excited to get this edited together because I just think it's going to be really good. So I'm excited about that. Let me know if you have any questions about filming an hour, what that looks like, with the process of it. Maybe, and then when it's out, you could always message me and be like, hey, why this, why that, any of that type of stuff. Or I just would love to interact with you guys and hear about maybe if you're a comedian working on a special, what that looks like. And just, I'm always looking to learn, but I'm also looking to share my knowledge in any kind of way that I can. But thank you guys for tuning in for this episode of the podcast. I hope it really gives you an idea of like what goes into the planning behind the scenes. I definitely would do a follow-up video on the YouTube channel of just behind the scenes of making it with some photos and graphics and things like that. I just wanted to kind of talk through this and kind of tell you how I'm feeling about it in this moment and capture this. And then, of course, we can revisit this when the special is out or about to be out. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Big Laugh YouTube channel, or please follow the podcast on Spotify, Zack Podcast on Spotify. I appreciate that so much. And it's just been great. All the new listeners and all the new people watching the podcast, it's truly cool to see this thing grow. And I've been having wonderful guests on. And so I'm just happy to have this solo episode with you guys and kind of catch up. But I hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Outro music.